You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hello, and welcome to episode 64 of the Soulforge podcast.
Welcome to the Soulforge, a place of silent mystery, quiet contemplation, and outright mayhem. Join your host, Sean Vanderloo, as he guides you through the adventures of living. Together, we'll talk about life and love, sex and dating, joy and heartache, memories and loss, and so much more. Don't worry, it's not nearly as pretentious as it sounds. Get ready for life, the universe, and everything on the Soulforge.
Hey everyone, Sean Vanderloo here. Glad you could join me again for another rousing and exciting episode of the podcast. What are we going to talk about today? We are going to talk about the Dalai Lama's 18 rules for living that will help you get your shit together. So no, I won't be reading any poetry like I did last week. Hope you guys enjoyed that, by the way. Haven't received any responses. A couple people at work said that they really enjoyed it though, so that was nice. As I'm recording, we're at the end of August 2018. Summer is over. Kids have started going back to school. The main bulk of kids go back to school next week. September's starting. My birthday is just a few days away. September 3rd, I'm going to be 42. Hopefully by then, if The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is to be believed, I will then have the answers to life, the universe, and everything. It's kind of doubtful, but you never know. Miracles can happen, and sometimes they do. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Next week when I come and bring you a recording, that'll be recorded slightly after my birthday. So maybe that'll be the most amazing, spectacular episode ever. So make sure you tune in for next week's episode 65. So what's going on around here anyway? Besides kids going back to school, summer is winding down. We've had pretty much a month and a half of 40 degrees Celsius weather with the humidity, I can't say that word I guess, but it's been +8 lately, so that's probably in the 40s if you're going by Fahrenheit. It's been cold and rainy, the weather's changing, it's definitely becoming fall. Oh, that's what's going on around here, that's right. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is coming to Timmins today to have a barbecue at the Partissa Park. And it's raining today, so I don't know how well that's going to work out. But my coworker John said, hey, let's RSVP for that event, and we'll see if we can meet the Prime Minister, and we'll talk his ear up, and we'll see if we can get in good with him for the post office, make sure that they don't screw that up, and whatever. I'm not even sure what John's plans are. I just want to take a selfie with Justin and give him one of my podcast business cards. I don't think it'll do anything, but you never know. Might be a nice viral photo. Anyway, that's later today. I'm recording this on the Wednesday, the 29th of August. This will come out tomorrow sometime, of course. What else can I tell you guys about that's going on in my life? There's lots and lots to talk about. Not going to podcast about it quite yet, but I'm excited about my birthday and turning 42. And, of course, you guys know that I have a YouTube channel. I've got this podcast on Spotify.
So I wanted to remind you once again that you can listen to this show and other podcasts on Spotify. And now it's easier than ever. Just open the app on your mobile device or desktop, click on Browse, and then click on the podcast section. It works on your computer, your phone, your smart speaker system, whatever you want to use. So stay connected to your favorite podcasts and never miss an episode using Spotify.
But what I really need you to do right now before we get into the wisdom of the Dalai Lama is listen to this podcast promo for another podcast on the ESO Podcast Network.
You ever been curious about the real or fictional worlds?
In the beginning, there were laser kings and giant robots.
Those who created.
I'm going to feed you to this tentacle monster now. No.
Or what inspires.
And I remember being in my room with my brother, And we immediately, like within 5 seconds, he decided he was a DC fan and I decided I was a Marvel fan. And we were going through and sorting out all of the comics.
And you might enjoy Here Be Tigers, the only podcast show where we take life by the tail. Now available on Google Play, Stitcher, and iTunes, and of course your favorite podcasting network. This is Here Be Tigers.
All right, so there you go. And I'll also remind you to leave a 5-star review in the iTunes store or the whatever they call it now for Apple Podcasts for this podcast, The Soul Forge. And now let's talk a little bit about the Dalai Lama's rules for life. So this article I found, it's actually on the Soul Forge Facebook page. If you haven't joined that, you totally should. The guy who wrote this article says, at the turn of the century, the Dalai Lama issued 18 rules for living. As I share them with you here today, I hope they will inspire you as much as they have me, to stretch yourself, to go within, to strive for more, to be more, to grow more, and as a result, always be living into your greatest potential and purpose in life. Basically, these will help you to really get your shit together. So that's a little bit of a swear. Don't normally swear on the podcast, but guess what? This one is a little bit different. So here we go. We'll just go through the 18 rules, and I'll talk a little bit about each one. And if you feel like it, email soulforgepodcast@gmail.com to give me your thoughts on what you think of these rules. Rule 1. Take into account that great love and great achievements involve great risk. So what do I think about that? And am I going to take these to heart? I probably should. So you just have to remember that great things involve great risk. If you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to achieve greatness. So go for it. Go for what you want. Take the risk. You only live this one life. Go for it. And I haven't always done that. I've usually played it safe, and that is not necessarily a good thing because you don't get anywhere all the time, most of the time actually. And so I've decided that, it's time to just take some risks and go out there and do some fun stuff. Rule number 2, when you lose, don't lose the lesson. And what does that mean? That basically means learn from your mistakes. If you did something wrong, then you analyze what happened and you go from there. And that's a good thing. You should always be learning and striving for greatness and improving yourself, that kind of thing. My grandfather always used to say, learn from the mistakes of others because you'll never have a chance to make them all yourself. That's not true. I've made all kinds of mistakes and hopefully I've learned from them. Usually I have to make them several times before I really get the lesson. I guess I'm kind of hard-headed, maybe kind of dumb. Rule number 3, follow the 3 R's. Respect for self, respect for others, responsibility for all your actions. That's a good rule. I like it. You should respect yourself enough to do what's right for you. You should respect others. Don't infringe on them. Don't cause them harm. And take responsibility for all of your actions. Yeah, so be responsible. Don't shirk your duties. Don't fluff it off. Don't hide from what needs to be done. Just do it. Rule number 4. Remember that not getting what you want is sometimes a wonderful stroke of luck. What does that mean? In my own life, there's often times that I want something and it doesn't happen. And then later on you get it and you're like, well, that's crap. That's not what I wanted at all. So oftentimes, not getting what you want is good. You don't always know it. And sometimes it takes years to figure it out, but it's true.
After a time, you may find that having is not so pleasing a thing after all as wanting.
I can definitely tell you that. I'm sure you guys have stories about that yourself. If you have any, email me or tweet. Use your Twitter, at SoulForgePod. Rule 5, learn the rules so you know how to break them properly. Kind of surprised that the Dalai Lama said that, but I think he's a little bit cheeky, and that's kind of cool. So I think what that basically means is learn the rules, find all the idiosyncrasies, what's going on in the paradigm or whatever you call it of whatever it is you're doing. Then, once you know the insides and the outsides, you can, I guess, cheat or break them or sneakily maneuver around the obstacles. doesn't really. I wish these rules actually had more in depth. I'm sure there's a book or something. That'd be something to find. I hope there is one. Rule number 6: don't let a little dispute injure a great friendship. I think that basically means if you did something stupid, say you're sorry. Or if it's not that big of a deal, maybe it's the other person's fault. Talk to that person. If you have a great friendship, sometimes a wedge will come between it because of some kind of a dispute. Who knows what it is? But if the friendship is worth it, or the relationship is worth it, do what you need to do in order to fix it. And that kind of goes into rule number 7. When you realize you've made a mistake, take immediate steps to correct it. A lot of times people don't. They just let the mistake build and build, or they try to hide from it. People don't want to take responsibility for their actions necessarily. But you have to. It's a good idea. It builds your character. But it's not always easy. It's hard. Because sometimes you're embarrassed. Or maybe it's going to cost a lot of money because, well, who knows why. But I don't want to make up all these kinds of scenarios. But yeah, so if you did something bad or you made a mistake, just fix it. Here's a good rule, number 8. Spend some time alone every day. It's important. You need to spend time with yourself to reboot your system maybe, to find out who you are, just to get away from the noise of the world. I don't know if I spend time alone every day, but I do when I'm podcasting. So I'm alone right now. I'm talking to you guys out there in podcast land, but you're not really here right now. You'll be here later, but when you're listening to it, I'll be doing something else. So we kind of have a connection, and we're doing the same thing. I'm talking to you guys are listening, but maybe you're alone when you're listening. I'm alone when I'm recording. But even so, maybe go read a good book, maybe meditate, watch a movie, work in the garden, go for a walk. There's a million different things you could do alone. So try that. See if it works. See if it's good. Rule number 9. Open your arms to change, but don't let go of your values. So that one is kind of hard to get my mind around. Open your arms to change. That's easy. Life is full of change. Embrace it. Accept it. But don't let go of your values. I guess that I kind of think that could be a separate rule. Maybe it means see what's out there, see what's happening, see what's changing in your life, but make sure you stay who you are. So try new things, but don't forget who you are. I'm going to go with that. That sounds about the best way to do it. Let's just move on to rule number 10. Remember that silence is sometimes the best answer. And it's true. It is. There's all kinds of noise in the world and it's dragging you down. Just be quiet. Or if somebody's arguing with you and they don't stop, and there's no way to tell them that they're wrong or show them your point of view, just stop talking. Move on. Either they'll figure it out themselves or they won't. And if they don't, you can't tell them anyway, because people can only learn lessons on themselves once they're willing. You can try, you can help, but it doesn't always work. Number 11, live a good, honorable life. Then, when you get older and think back, you'll be able to enjoy it a second time. A lot of these rules I've actually heard before, so that you often see them on memes on Facebook or Twitter or just online somewhere. And it's true, live a good, honorable life. Enjoy your life. And then when you get old, you won't have any regrets. That's what I'm thinking that one means. So we got rule 12. A loving atmosphere in your home is the foundation for a good life. And it's true. You have a loving atmosphere at your home, which is your base of operations. So if that is stable and loving and you feel secure, then when you go out into the world, you bring that love and security to your dealings with daily life, daily people, whatever you have to deal with. And even if something is causing you stress out there in the world, at least you have a loving home to return to and reboot yourself. Plug yourself back in, calm, cool, collected. That's what you need. Rule number 13. In disagreements with loved ones, deal only with the current situation. Don't bring up the past. Ooh, that's one that people have a hard time with. Have you ever been in a disagreement with somebody? How often do they bring up, or how often do you bring up something in the past, not related to the current situation? Excavating the past, digging up all that stuff and bringing it back, stuff that's already been dealt with or should have been dealt with, but you bring it back up for no other reason than you're vindictive and mean, and you shouldn't do that. Just deal with what's going on right now. Never mind what happened in the past. That's done. That's over with. Let's move on. Rule number 14. Share your knowledge. It's a way to achieve immortality. Case in point, the Soul Forge podcast. here I am, sharing my knowledge. Am I achieving immortality? I don't know. Are you guys spreading the Soul Forge word?
Don't forget to follow them on Twitter.
Are you telling your friends and family about the Soul Forge? Or some of the stories that I've told, some of the knowledge that I've had to impart, some of my embarrassing stories? I don't know. Am I going to be immortal through my memory? I'm not sure. I often think about that. Like, for example, in school, you're taught about people from the past, great writers, people who changed history. One day, years and years hence, is I think I talked about this even on last week's podcast with the poetry. Our teacher's going to teach about the great podcasters of the early 21st century. Is that going to be a thing? There's no way to know. I'm not one of the big guys like Joe Rogan or Mark Maron or Chris Hardwick or any of those people, so I'm just a little guy. But I might get famous, you never know. Me and Seamus from Chewed Gum, Crime and Movies, and a bunch of other podcasts are actually starting up a new show soon. I think I talked about it before. It's going to be exciting. We're trying to make it as big as we can. Be one of the big guys, a big fish in a big pond. That'd be nice. But that's coming soon, and we'll see what happens. I can't have real immortality, so maybe I'll have pop culture immortality. I'll take whatever I can get. Rule 15. Be gentle with the earth. It's good advice. Reduce your carbon footprint. Make as little impact as you can on the world. I guess that's kind of almost opposite from the previous one of immortality, but it's not really, because sharing your knowledge is a way to pass down your information to your kids and so on, and their kids and grandkids and friends and family and whatever. But being gentle with the earth means that you consume as little as possible, and you save some for the next generations that are coming after you. So that's always a good idea. Don't overfish, don't overhunt, don't throw out the plastic bottle in the garbage, throw it in the recycle bin, I guess. Don't use plastic straws, that's the big thing right now. 2018, the year of the plastic straw controversy. Okay, number 16. Once a year, go someplace you've never been before. That's a rule I don't follow, but would love to. I would love to see the world, travel everywhere. It's expensive, though. They always say, if you're going to spend your money, spend it on memories instead of stuff, because you'll always have the memories, but you won't always necessarily have the things. And maybe that's true. Maybe I need to start doing that, going places. See, I'm from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and I lived in North Bay, and I'm living in Timmins right now. I've been to Cedar Point, I've been to Montreal, I've been to Thunder Bay, I've been to Sudbury. I haven't really been anywhere exotic or exciting, so I need to start traveling and seeing the world instead of just one little small pocket. That would be nice. So if you want to support my travel fund, I do have a Patreon account, which I never talk about. Patreon.com/Darth Vaderloo. You can start shoveling the money my way, guys, or whatever you want. And send me checks, whatever, I don't care. Send me a plane ticket, that'd be even better. I don't care where I go, I just want to go somewhere. Oh, I probably shouldn't have even said any of that. Anyway, rule number 17. Remember that the best relationship is one in which your love for each other exceeds your need for each other. So the love that you have for your partner is better than, or more important than, the need that you feel for the person. Because if you need them, that's not really love. It's more of a requirement. I need you to support me financially so I have a place to live. But if you have the love, the pure, not exotic, I was going to say exotic, but the pure uncut love, that's amazing. You have a long-lasting relationship. You have respect for each other. That would be awesome. Rule number 18. Judge your success by what you had to give up in order to get it. What sacrifice did you make? Did you have to give up a lot to be successful? If you gave up too much, can you still consider it a success? That's a good question. Hard to say, hard to know. Do you have any stories about that, folks, out in podcast land? What did you have to give up in order to be successful? Did you have to give up family time? Did you have to give up time alone? Did you have to travel a lot? Did you have to commute 2 hours to and from work to be successful? There's lots of things that you may have had to give up to be successful. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a sacrifice and it all worked out in the end. So, that is the Dalai Lama's 18 Rules for Life. The article concludes with 7 questions to consider. I'm just going to say what they are. Question number 1, what risks are you willing to take in your life right now? Kind of a reflective question. What are you going to do? Number 2, how will you be more open to acknowledging and learning from your mistakes? That's important. You should always learn from your mistakes. And like Grandpa said, learn from the mistakes of others so you don't have to make them all yourself. I wish I would have taken that advice. Number 3, where will you take greater responsibility in your life? Number 4, when will you spend quality, reflective time alone every day? I think the answer is right away. Do it now. Well, at least after you listen to the podcast. And leave a 5-star review. Number 5, how will you share the knowledge and wisdom you have? Start a podcast. Write a blog. Write a book. Number 6, how do you respect yourself and others? And number 7, what are the values by which you live your life? Do you know what your values are? You should. That way you have more of a goal or guidepost or like a compass to guide you throughout your endeavors. Look at me being all philosophical and stuff. So that's all about the Dalai Lama. Didn't really get into his life and any of that stuff. I'm sure he's got a fascinating life. I would love to interview him, but I didn't need a translator, I assume. That's what I've got for you guys this week. I hope you enjoyed some of that. Stay tuned next week for episode 65 after I've turned 42 and discovered the answers to life, the universe, and everything. It's going to be very exciting. I hope you can't wait as much as I can't wait. To wrap it all up, live the best life you can. Do no harm to others. Go places that you haven't been. Just try to be the best you can be. That's it. I think that's what we're all here for. That's what the Soul Forge podcast is about, being a better human through stories of stupid things I've done because of girls and interviewing people that have stories to share. Until next time, have a great day, have a great week, exercise, drink plenty of water, and remember, if it doesn't open, it's not your door. This has been another episode of the Soul Forge podcast. Contact the show by emailing soulforgepodcast@gmail.com or by tweeting soulforgepod on Twitter. Visit us at soulforgepodcast.com, and remember, the best way to show your support is by leaving a 5-star review in the iTunes store. And, if you would, please check us out and like us on Facebook. The Soul Forge podcast was written, produced, scored, edited, engineered, and directed by Sean Vanderloo. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at Darth Vaderloo. For more great content, you can listen to my other podcast, The Rusted Robot. Thanks for stopping by the Forge. We'll keep the fires lit until your next visit.
I could do this all day.
He's one of the most well-known spiritual leaders of the 20th and 21st centuries. The present Dalai Lama is the 14th in a long line stretching back to the 1300s. The word Dalai means an ocean, implying an ocean of wisdom. Lama means teacher. Tibetans believe the Dalai Lamas are reincarnations of Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara. When the current Dalai Lama approaches old age, the search starts for the next reincarnation. Starting with the 5th Dalai Lama in the 1600s, they have led Tibet politically as well as spiritually. The 5th Dalai Lama built the Potala Palace, one of the most recognizable landmarks in Tibet. But the current Dalai Lama was forced to flee Tibet in 1959 and is currently living in exile in Dharamsala in northern India. His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso, is best known for his representation of Tibetans in their struggle for freedom and human rights. In 1989, he won the Nobel Peace Prize for his, quote, consistent resistance to the use of violence in his people's struggle to regain their liberty. In 2011, the Dalai Lama retired from politics, breaking the 370-year tradition of the Dalai Lama being the political and spiritual leader of the Tibetan people. According to the tradition of reincarnation, the present Dalai Lama selects his successor. But when he selected a new Panchen Lama in 1995, Chinese authorities abducted the child, who was never seen again. The Chinese regime then appointed another Panchen Lama instead. Thus it remains unclear as to who will be the next Dalai Lama, the one Tibetans will recognize as their highest spiritual and political leader.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping through Amazon.com or the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.